Welcome to Court Explainer. This weekend where we are dealing with the question that every family has grappled with. The question about when your good friend, when your relative, when your father, when your mother passes on in a hospital, and the hospital detains the body, telling you you must pay this amount of money before the body is released. Have you ever faced such a situation? One, this was the only person who was the breadwinner of the family. He gets into an accident, he's rushed to hospital, he dies there, then you are told you have a bill of 20 million shillings. This person goes to a public hospital or a private hospital, is admitted for 6 years or 6 months, and you are paying heavily. He dies or she dies. Then you are told you must pay the bill before the body is released. Almost every family in this country has faced such a situation. You have the outstanding medical bill. You have two, the burial expenses that are waiting for you. Three, there might also be disputes where that person is going to be buried. There are wives who have come fighting. This was my husband, this was my daughter. All these issues are issues that today we want to stop and think about it and look at it. Although there are many ways to advise people, take a medical cover, take a personal accident cover, take whatever insurance. The reality is, death never gives a warning. Death never gives you a notice. So we are starting from the point that one of your own has died and there is an outstanding medical bill. And the hospital demands you bring a title deed, you bring a logbook, you get some money. Are you going to the Shiloh to borrow, to pay? So that has been the question many Kenyans have asked Court Helicopter to deal with. Today, Court Helicopter goes into decisions that have come from the High Court. For example, in the High Court of Kenya at Nairobi, Civil Suit number 448 of 2025, I'll avoid mentioning the parties in that matter, but I'll give the judge, Justice J.K. Sargona. This was a dispute where somebody went to a private hospital and he died. The outstanding bill at the time of dying was over 17 million shillings. They transferred the body from the ward to their own mortuary. Most private hospitals, big hospitals, have their private morgues. So they insisted that the family must pay the 17 plus million Kenya shillings, or in the alternative, they bring collateral in terms of a loan, in terms of a logbook, or in terms of a title deed. Their argument was based that at admission, during somebody being admitted, there is somebody called the next of kin who signs that in the event the bill is big, they will pursue that person who is called the next of kin. So the hospital said, give us our money, 17 million shillings. Or we pursue, will not release the body. So the body was kept as a lien, as collateral. The matter went before the judge. And what was the finding of the judge? The judge found out 4 things that are very, very clear, and I want Court Helicopter to bring you what the judge said. 1, the deceased's body is being detained to force the deceased's relatives and or kin to make proposal on how to settle the bill left behind by the deceased. So this body was being detained forcing the family to give a proposal on how to deal with this question. 2, the court found out that a body needs to be buried immediately. The public policy dictates that once somebody dies, the family to be given that body, the body to be buried by the family members. So the question was, does a hospital have the right to bury? No. The right to bury the deceased is normally in the custody of the family. What is the public policy over this? Is because once somebody has died, it is public policy that that person should be buried very fast, expeditiously, so that to allow the other family members who are alive to proceed with their life. The only reason that a body can be detained in a mortuary, according to this authority and according to the law, the only reason a body can be detained in a mortuary is one, if it's not, there's a dispute on who is to bury. For example, a man has died and there are 4 or 5 women fighting over that. That can make the body to be kept in a mortuary until it is determined who should bury. The only other second reason is where should the burial be. So the court will only detain a body when there is a dispute on the place of burial. This can be, for example, is it Langata Cemetery? Is it going to be in Nyamira? Is it going to be in Ukambani? If there is a dispute on the place of burial, that is the only time the body can be detained. Free. The other reason the court can detain a body is who is going to be allowed to participate. So, for example, there are children from a divorced wife. They can go to court and say, that was our father, that was our mother. We must participate in that burial. There's a wife who went away, ran away, but now the husband has died. The question of who can participate can also detain the body. So the question about medical bill is no reason to detain the body. And out of this, the court allowed the family to go and bury the body. So what are the mechanisms for the hospital to recover its money? There are 2 mechanisms available for you. The hospital can go for the family and cite them in a succession matter that they need to take out letters because the claim of the hospital is in the estate of the deceased. The deceased is dead. You cannot hold him. For example, the judge said this. It says, and the judge said this following. There is no doubt it is a fundamental principle of public policy that dead bodies should be disposed of as quickly as possible. If there is no dispute as to who is entitled to take possession for burial or cremation, like in this case. So another reason why a body can be detained is the manner. If, for example, some family wants cremation, some members of the family want burial, that dispute can detain the body, and once it is resolved, the court will proceed and give that order. This question was put in the years 1745 in England. And the courts in England, that is R versus Fox, 1841, the year 1841, this is the court in England saying, a creditor is not entitled to retain the body of his debtor as security for his debt. 1841 years ago. We are now in 2026. So you cannot detain a body of your creditor. This appeared in a case called Lubindi Venant, and another versus Pandya Memorial Hospital in 1998, EKLR. Justice Waki, you remember Waki, who took the envelope to the ICC? Yes. What did Justice Waki say? It is a very, very interesting quotation. Simply put it, there is a veiled threat by the hospital that if it is forced to release the body of the deceased, it will not in future admit and treat poor persons in this country. As a private commercial institution, there is nothing to stop the hospital from making good such threat. And there is no denying that the effect would be devastating, since the majority of the citizens of this country live below the poverty line and can hardly afford good medical services, although they deserve them no less than the rich. I'm not oblivious to such consequences, but my judicial conscience is troubled. For I think, with the utmost respect to the hospital, that on any view, it would be equally repugnant to public policy to sanction the use of dead bodies as objects in the game of commercial ping-pong. Dead bodies are for interment or cremation or disposal without delay, unless there is a dispute on where to dispose them or who should do it. The dead ought to rest in peace, while those who are left alive struggle with the realities of life, such as payment of debts. In this particular case, there is no dispute as to who should bury the deceased or where he should be buried. The dispute is on the debt for medical services solicited for by someone who is still alive, not the deceased. And there are no legal ways of binding such a person to pay the debt owed. The dead body of the deceased ought not to be part of the equation, for it is tried law that there is no property in a dead body. It cannot be offered or held as security for payment of a debt. The judge puts it loud and clear: a dead body cannot be auctioned if there is default. It cannot be used to earn rental income in a cold room. In sum, there is no legal basis for detaining a dead body, and it could be callous and a sadistic approach to hold otherwise. Wakili, Dan Omari always brings to you what the laws say. My crew Vivian asks, what about the hospital? It will go to a massive loss, 17 million shillings. The law has said it, and the judge put it very, very clear that who is responsible for that when that person has died. It says in paragraph 15, there is no dispute that no one has so far applied for letters of administration in respect of the deceased estate. In such a case, the respondent that the hospital are entitled to take out citation proceedings to enable them file recovery proceedings against the estate. So when somebody dies, the hospital should go to the succession. The estate of the deceased, the hospital should sue the estate of the deceased. If the family of the deceased don't take out letters of administration, the law of succession allows that one can cite the family, that you, the family of so and so, you have refused to go to succession. Allow us, judge, to proceed to recover our money. So the hospital don't make any loss. Mark it very clear. It is that the only person to be pursued whenever somebody died is the estate of the deceased person. All properties of the dead person when he dies goes to the estate. It is the estate that owes the hospital. You now know that it is not possible to detain a dead body in a hospital as collateral until the fees, the medical bills, have been paid. But we are advising you, try as much as also possible to pay the bills and get medical covers. Join either SHA, join any other facility to avoid such a situation. Wakili Danstan Omari, today bringing you on what happens if there's a medical bill and somebody has died. Thank you very much.